Things start off in a very interesting way in this entry by Julian. His very first sentence is, "Dad might have given up." Welcome back to the 26th reading in the Wherefore Art Thou Journals series. If you're new here, every Thursday we explore selected passages from Romeo and Julian's private journals, the entries that were never meant for anyone else to read. Before we dive in, if you are not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can follow the journey each week. And don't miss our Monday shorts where I share sneak previews and behind the scenes insights into the story. Now, that doesn't sound like something Mr. Capulet would ever do. So what changed? Because there are a lot of possibilities here, and not all of them are good. Once again, we're not covering the full entry, but even in just the first half, a lot happens. So let's see what Julian had to say.
Sunday, May 7th, 2023. Entry by Julian. Dad might have given up. Now, what does that even mean? Today, I heard the doorbell ring, and Dad never moved toward the door. There was literal dead silence. He might not have even been home. There was no noise from anyone. No Tyler, no Mom, no Dad. It was a real WTF moment. I was seriously waiting for some sort of sneak attack, like all three of them coming out of nowhere and beating me to death or something. I know that sounds ridiculous. I have a bit of a wild imagination, what can I say? When I got to the door, I saw an envelope taped to it with my name on it. I ripped it off, and inside was some money. Yep, he's definitely given up. I guess he's used to the routine by now of JJ stealing me away on Sundays. Since he has no evidence that anything's up, how could he say no? Plus, he knows he wouldn't win with JJ anyway. I suppose he could find a way to lock me in my room if he really wanted to, but honestly, I'm not worried. Still, it had me wondering where everyone was. Should I be concerned? Nah, I should just enjoy the ounce of freedom when I can get it. When I opened the door, I surprised JJ. She was totally expecting my dad to be there. He's been there every Sunday since we started the plan. All I wanted to do was go. No one to follow us this time. That was the only thought running through my head. Well, that's not true. The real thought was that I finally was going to see Romeo today. As we walked to JJ's car, she asked me where everyone was. I told her the truth. I had no freaking clue, and I didn't care. JJ didn't seem to care either. I think she liked the fact that we wouldn't be followed and wouldn't have to deal with any questions. When we got in the car, I mentioned that no one even told me they were going out. Probably for the best anyway. Here's the thing about today. We didn't actually have a plan. I'm not sure what came over me, but I told JJ to drive to Romeo's house so we could pick him up. This was after she told me that Eska wasn't available today. On the way, we stopped to pick up Maya since her house was on the way. JJ tried to talk me out of the idea the entire way there, and even Maya chimed in, saying it wasn't a good idea. They thought it exposed us to too much risk. I couldn't sit still as we got closer. I'd never actually been to his house before, and my nerves were kicking in. JJ pulled up out front. She wanted to text Romeo to say we were there, but I jumped out of the car the second she put it in park. I ran across the front lawn, adrenaline rushing through me. I could see Romeo sitting in what I assumed was the living room. I didn't even care if anyone else was home. After all, I could easily pass as just a friend. I knocked gently on the window, scaring the crap out of him. He came right up, opened the window, and asked me what the hell I was doing. I told him I didn't really know, that all the sneaking around was giving me a rush. He shook his head at me, of course, but I asked if he was coming. He said he needed a minute, so I ran back to the car. By then, Maya had moved to the front seat, so I jumped in the back. Maybe if anyone saw two girls in the front, it would help our case. I tried to hide in the back seat, but my height made that pretty difficult. Diving into the trunk wasn't an option. Romeo eventually came racing out of the house. He turned back for a moment to say something to someone, then ran toward JJ's car. Maya gestured for him to get in the back seat, and he obviously knew I was there. He hopped in and JJ immediately pulled away. I grabbed Romeo and kissed him, only to get mildly scolded for it. Apparently, we could have been seen by his father. Turns out his dad wasn't home, so it didn't matter in the end. We did get yelled at to buckle up though. JJ decided to be a bit of a jerk and slammed on the brakes, not the most comfortable experience. We fastened our seatbelts pretty quickly after that. I'm still a little sore, probably deserved it, but hormones got in the way. When Romeo asked what we were doing, I shrugged because I honestly had no idea. Turns out neither did JJ. Romeo teased her about always having a plan, and then bam, she slammed on the brakes again. He jolted forward so hard, I thought he'd have whiplash for days. Still, there was no plan. Maya suggested the mall, but that was a unanimous no. She vetoed a hike, we couldn't decide on a park to hang out in, and there weren't any good movies playing. At least that's what I thought. Then Romeo pulled out his phone and found Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I loved the first one, so it was settled, as long as we could get tickets. I had my fingers crossed the entire way to the theater. The parking lot wasn't too busy, but that doesn't mean anything. There were literally 4 tickets left. I like sitting closer now, but these seats were right in the back, which actually made it feel more private. This was the first time Romeo and I got to hold hands at the movies. I cuddled right up to him. It was amazing. One of those moments where you actually feel like a couple in public. The darkness of the theater is magical like that. The movie was great too. I wasn't a huge fan of the second one, but I was glad Romeo had seen the first 2, so he knew what was going on. I tried to remember the last time we went to the movies. I think it was Super Mario Bros. We all loved it and were surprised by how emotional it was. I won't lie, I cried. I always get emotional during movies. I remember bawling my eyes out the first time my uncle showed me Titanic. Pretty sure he ran out of Kleenex. After the movie, we went to a cafe nearby that Maya loves. Everything was going great until some people from school walked in. As soon as they saw us, I started worrying about the questions they'd ask. But what came next wasn't what I expected. They brought up prom. A couple of girls asked Maya and JJ what their plans were and if anyone had asked them yet. Romeo and I sat there awkwardly. All I could think about was how much I wanted to go to prom with him as each other's date. My mind was racing, trying to figure out how to make it possible. I felt like Doctor Strange in Avengers Infinity War, looking through all the possibilities but only seeing one that would work. Maya and JJ were honest. They said no one had asked them to prom yet, and they were still figuring it out. I got quiet and put my head down at one point. Thinking about prom was hard because I knew I wouldn't be able to go. Well. Minutes later, a couple of guys from our grade showed up. It was Aiden from the swim team and one of his buddies. As soon as he saw JJ and me, he came straight over. He said hi to me right away, which caused Romeo to sit up a bit straighter. Aiden kept talking to me, and afterward I had to remind Romeo that's just how Aiden is. Friendly with everyone and sometimes flirty. But what happened next changed everything. Aiden remembered seeing Romeo before and shook his hand. Then he turned to JJ and flat out asked her to prom, right then and there. I was immediately curious about how this was going to play out. JJ responded right away, asking him if he still had a girlfriend. Turns out, he and his girlfriend had broken up over a month ago, and somehow no one had any idea. I started taking a drink as JJ politely turned him down, and said she was going with Romeo.
Well. Julian's dad has backed off, and suddenly his cousin is taking his boyfriend to prom? That's a pretty big shift in Julian's world, and it all happens within the first half of this entry. But don't get too comfortable, because JJ, of course, has a plan. Julian's dad giving up is something neither of them fully trusts. And honestly, can you blame them? But for now, JJ's carefully crafted plan seems to be working in their favor. The real question is, how long does that last? Because something like this doesn't usually come without a catch. And then there's Julian, getting bold out of nowhere. Maybe a little too bold. It feels like the sudden shift in control, that sudden taste of freedom, might be going straight to his head. They're lucky no one noticed. Even Romeo was starting to get concerned, but somehow they managed to get out without anyone catching on. With Maya along for the ride, the mall was an option, but in the end, a new movie release wins. And for a moment, things almost feel normal. Almost. But it's at that cafe where things take a turn, because something unexpected happened there. And this time, it might change more than they're ready for. If you're enjoying these readings, take a second to like the video. It really helps more people discover Romeo and Julian's story. And if you are new here, subscribe so you don't miss the next entry in Wherefore Art Thou journals. New readings every Thursday and shorts every Monday. And I want to hear from you in the comments. Do you think Julian's dad has actually backed off, or is this all part of something bigger? Let's talk about it. And if you want the full story, including everything I don't read here, you can order Wherefore Art Thou Journals Volume 1 through the links in the description or at romeoandjulian.com. Until next Thursday, keep your heart open, your journal close, and your story unfolding.